Hey guys, I wanted to respond to a very specific YouTube comment I got from Ben. Not gonna say his full name. I don't know, I guess I could. You did say I am not a doctor, but I actually am. It's in the name, Dr. Bo. I have my doctorate in physical therapy, so we are specialists. We are probably physical therapists. Doctors of physical therapy are possibly the best folks to talk to for musculoskeletal issues, okay? Keep that in mind, Ben. But I wanted to respond to your specific question about anterior shoulder dislocation. So when people dislocate their shoulder or it pops out, and we call that a subluxation. Real quick, the difference between a subluxation and a dislocation. Subluxation kind of pops out, pops back in pretty easily on its own. Dislocation, it pops out and you might really either need to like do a whole thing to pop it back in, or it stays out for a while. And if it stays out, if you ever do pop your shoulder out or any joint, specifically the shoulder though, I know this from the literature, is if it's out for more than 5 minutes, you have a significantly increased chance of nerve damage and all the problems that go along with that. But the front of the shoulder, coming back to it for a second, is one of the weakest parts of the body. So, and once you pop it out and you kind of break through that little bit of a capsule there, and I'm oversimplifying some of these concepts, but it's very important to understand, yeah, you're prone to further dislocation, subluxation, problems with that front of the shoulder. I don't know what's going on with this poof here. Anyway, so what we need to keep in mind here is, and what Ben said in his comment is, he's tried to come up with a set of exercises and it keeps popping out. Unfortunately, he keeps having issues with it, which is very, very common. It's not normal, but it's common. So the answer for you, Ben, and for anybody else dealing with these anterior shoulder dislocations, subluxations, whatever the diagnosis is, the really, really simple physical therapy perspective, strengthening perspective, is get it stronger as much as possible. If you don't have a base level of strength around it, then yeah, you're going to continue to have issues. And when you even go to do something simple like a push-up or something like a dip, by the way, puts a lot of shoulder on the front, a lot of stress on the front of that shoulder, so that you might literally be weakening it as you go. There is and should be a very slow, steady progression to say, maybe we can go and do a little bit and maybe go to 45 degrees and then press out of that. So we get strong there before we go all the way to 90 degrees or even past that, because those shoulder joints really need to get comfortable, build resilience, and the muscles that support it, all right, there's not a ton, as many in the front anyway, there's a lot in the back, but they need to all come together to work together to support the shoulder joint and the ball and the socket. That's what's coming out, right? That's kind of what's popping out, is the humerus, the shoulder bone that pops out. So start with some really basic isometrics. So just see if you can you're trying to push out. You can do this up against a wall or even using your other arm that's not popping out, and just get used to engaging those muscles. Push back into extension, okay, pushing back into a wall. You can push forward. These are really basic kind of rehab exercises. You might have even done them at some point, but then maybe you went and tried to do push-ups or dips or barbell work or anything like that, and there was just a big jump, and we call, all of these things, we can say that's driving 10 miles an hour, and if you're international, 10 kilometers per hour. And then you're trying to go, and maybe you never quite got to 20, 30, 40, 50, and now you're going to 100 miles an hour or kilometers per hour. And it needs to be a steady, slow progression. And injuries happen when you go 10, 20, 30, and then you try 100, and you didn't quite build up to that. So too much, too soon, too fast can keep that shoulder popping out. Specifically, back to the concept or diagnosis of that anterior shoulder instability, clearly there's just something going on where you haven't built enough muscle around it. And that takes time, right? And it really comes down to a theme that's been coming up for a lot of my patients recently, that new people I'm introduced to, is they like to pick the scab. So they're saying, hey, I got back pain, and I'm going to kind of take it down a few notches. And back to our driving analogy, right? They're going 150 miles an hour normally. Something they did hurt their back. And they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to go 75 miles an hour. But 75 is still too fast for them to heal that back. They might need to go down to 30 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour. And then we need to slowly build that up rather than just saying, hey, just going 75 miles an hour is what's going to give me that ability to recover. There's a big disconnect there. So covered a bunch of random kind of things here. Feels random. I don't think it's super random. They're all related. But the point is, stop picking the scab. Every time you do something that kind of puts that shoulder in stressful situations, you might be re-injuring it little by little. These are all conversations that should be had one-on-one. So if you want to reach out to me directly, I'll have a link in the notes below. You can even book a call with me, free call, 15 minutes. Let's talk. We can maybe come up with something or come up with an actual strength and conditioning plan to build long-term resilience and really help that shoulder go from, again, just kind of functioning okay to saying, hey, let's really build this up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour and go all the way to wherever you want to build to. And it might take a year. It might take 2 years. I don't know your situation. It depends on how much damage is going on in there. And the more patience you can have, we really can accomplish a lot more over a longer period of time than we can in a short period of time. It's just the way our bodies work. It's the way that most things work in general, right? You can really, if you commit to a year, we tend to get better results. You're bought in. You're in the process. I sell 12-week tendon rehab protocols, and it's hard for a lot of people to give up whatever they love doing for 12 weeks. Either they don't believe in the outcome, and I'm not doing a good enough job of selling that outcome of, hey, you're going to have pain-free, stronger shoulders than ever by doing this 12-week program. We're doing this year-long program. So it depends on who you are, depends on what we got going on. I'm going to leave it there. Hope that helped. Ben, thank you for the comment. You guys leave other questions, comments. I'm happy to answer them. I enjoy doing these videos. So talk to you next time. Peace.